Mental health and anime go hand in hand with one another. It rings true because every single anime that I've watched deals with mental balance in its own unique way. Now, Japan may be a technologically advanced country with a very strong work ethic, but it falls short on mental health. Don't believe me? Back in 2019, Japan's suicide rate was 15.3%, and right now, in 2024, 1.2% of Japan's population have become shut-ins. As an international viewer, I was flabbergasted and confused at first, as to why are the characters even acting like this in the first place. Once I started to watch more and more anime, I finally got to know the reason and started to match the dots. Coming back to the first statement that I had just said a while ago, mental health and anime go hand in hand with one another. And in today's video, we'll be discussing how anime is shattering mental health taboos. Back in the old days of the early 2000s, if you even tried to discuss mental health with anyone, you'd be given glares. Fast forward to 2024 and mental health has been so glorified that people are just self-diagnosing themselves. Both are wrong, and you can thank movies, TV series, or even anime and manga for the sudden surge of acceptance in modern times. I'm not gonna lie, acceptance of mental health is definitely needed because half of the insecurities of an average person get resolved when talking to someone you trust. And I do mean someone you can trust, not just a random stranger. Because, let's face it, letting someone in on their darkest secrets can either be risky or therapeutic, depending on what the listener does. But if it's something serious, I'm pretty sure any good Samaritan will go out of their way and do their best to help you out. I'll be listing some of the anime here that openly discusses the mental health aspects of life and represents what each person goes through, as the famous quote from C.S. Lewis says, "No man knows how bad he is until he has tried very hard to be good." We'll be starting off with Genesis Evangelion. Standing amongst the world's most critically acclaimed anime series, it starts off as a typical mecha anime fighting against gigantic aliens, but has a complete genre shift towards the middle of the series. The most common complaint that I have found regarding the series is that Shinji has been lambasted as a bad protagonist, but in reality, he is as grounded as he can get. With depression, self-loathing, and childhood trauma being the central themes of Neon Genesis, Shinji navigates his dystopian reality as a mecha pilot while grappling with mental hurdles like the long-lasting repercussions of childhood trauma and anxiety. The kid needs a break. Trust me on that. Here's another old anime that perfectly portrays the socially anxious, and that's Welcome to the NHK, where Tatsuhiro, a young college dropout who is too anxious to leave his home and only interacts with others when he ventures out to grab food from a nearby convenience store. While the anime doesn't explicitly communicate this, it is clear that Tatsuhiro is a socially anxious agoraphobic who has fallen into a comfortable, albeit unhealthy, routine. Even when Misaki befriends Tatsuhiro, it gradually becomes clear that she only endeavors to help him overcome his deep-seated insecurities, as a distraction from her own problems. Despite not being the lighthearted development viewers were expecting and hoping for, this aspect of the anime makes it even more realistic. Let's not forget about Watamote and Bocchi the Rock, which deal with social anxiety as well in their own way. Despite the cutesy art style and comedic nature of both shows, they represent an accurate portrayal of the struggles that people who are affected by social anxiety have to go through. With Watamote exploring Tomoko's struggles to make friends and Bocchi the Rock chronicling Bocchi's battle against her fears such as stage fright and basic communication with people.
おはようございます。切ってすみません。急にどうした？今日は人と話しすぎて疲れたので帰ります。え？
There is an underrated anime that's been slept on by many anime fans, and that's March Comes In Like a Lion, or Sangatsu no Lion, and it follows high schooler Kiriyama Rei, a professional shogi player. Living on his own, he uses the game to create space between others, interacting with only a few from his shogi hall. This coming-of-age drama details how depression leads to isolating oneself. As the protagonist makes excuses to avoid, his dissociation removes him from being present. Escapism from facing the harsh realities of loneliness leads many to isolation and dark thoughts. This series never explicitly states or explains mental illness, but effectively depicts the slowly overtaking darkness created by ostracization and insecurity. Anxiety and depression can snowball, and without outlets and serendipitous meetings with caring people, these emotions become overwhelming. Rei's perfectionism becomes a habit of harsh self-judgment in a relevant story of criticism and, ultimately, self-compassion. If we're talking about deep diving into the rabbit hole of mental health, then who can forget about Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue? It is an artistic psychological thriller that details instability and fear and stands among Satoshi Kon's best movies. Here we follow the main character, Mima Kirigoe, as she shifts her career direction from pop star to actress. Particular fans do not take this transition well, and when murder begins to occur around her, the cumulative stress pushes perceived truth beyond reason. The film blurs the lines between fantasy and reality by highlighting a crazed fan obsession as well as following Mima's slipping sanity with increased stress, fear, and trauma. Her dissociative identity disorder intensifies with the movie's progression and shows a compelling and shocking internal struggle that has external consequences. Perfect Blue is also a great example of how mental health problems can be magnified and amplified in the public sector, where individualism and privacy are stripped away.
どうしたの？いえ。
A Silent Voice is a tear-jerking film about bullying, cruelty, and how this drives some to take their own life. Although middle school Shoya was not the only one to bully deaf peer Shoko, he became the sole pariah blamed for it and was subsequently shunned by his previous friends and classmates. When entering high school, he must face his feelings of guilt, shame, and anxiety to rectify his past and move forward. Bullying is a serious issue in Japan and around the world for school-aged children, so this series is a relatable look at an epidemic that affects many. Young individuals can get caught up in the social hierarchy and judgment, and as Shoya faces the consequences, his self-loathing and depression grow. Fortunately, there are moments for apologies, repentance, and forgiveness, illustrating how, although the weight of certain situations can feel too extreme, there are ways to overcome and grow into a better person than before. And lastly, who can forget about Orange, a series following those who struggle with depression and suicidal ideation, as well as those around them who do not know where and how to offer help. This anime shows the consequences of actions and mindsets, the possibilities of the future, and the weight people carry unbeknownst to others. This slice of life is told through a time-twisted alternate reality, and although the premise is unrealistic, the slew of complicated emotions is certainly not. The main cast receives letters from their future selves to prevent their friend Kakeru from committing suicide. Fans follow multiple perspectives, internally and externally, viewing the oppressive depression that causes a character to take drastic measures to end his sorrow and guilt. Orange stands as a sincere and undisguised glimpse into the pain that depression can cause on many fronts. With the amount of anime that I have mentioned here, I think it's sufficient to say that anime has shattered mental health taboos to a great extent. There are still so many that I haven't named yet, such as Banana Fish, Nana, Fruits Baskets, and so much more. But I think that's enough for today. Thanks for watching today's video, everyone. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Smash that bell icon, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself, and don't be afraid to drop a comment if you need any help.